Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy day 84 of the year. It is March the 25th. How are you feeling today? It is a beautiful day here in Bulgaria. Finally, the sun is out. There's a blue sky, and just look at the light in my studio. The difference in the light when it's a cloudy day and a sunny day in here is just unbelievable. I'm so much more motivated to work right now. The natural light is incredible. The sun is shining outside. You can hear the birds chirping. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. So hopefully wherever you are in the world, you're feeling good and you're connecting with your environment and just noticing how that's making you feel. Like I said, I've noticed a big difference between a sunny day and the cloudy days that we've had recently here. So just understanding how that affects my mood and affects my productivity and all of those things. So never forget that you are part of the natural world as a human, and what's going on in the natural world is probably going to have some sort of an effect on you. So it's always nice to check in with yourselves in the mornings. If you can spend some time outside, just kind of noticing what the day is looking like, how you're feeling, what's happening in the natural world. I always recommend that you start your day that way. As I said, we're on day 84 of the year, and our word for today, according to 365 Tao by Deng Ming Tao, is intellect. So that will be interesting to see what the book has to say about that topic. So grab your books, grab your journal, find a nice quiet and comfy place where you're not going to be disturbed for the next 15 minutes or so while we read together. Be here and now, be present. Remember, taking a nice deep breath in with a long exhale out is the quickest and easiest way to bring you back to this present moment and send a little message to your brain that it's time to rest and relax and be present. So let's start reading on day 84. Our word today is intellect. Scholars, drunk on words and obscure meanings, weave a tangled web of concordances. Simple practice never occurs to them. Give up education and the world will be better. There are many who seek Tao through the intellect. They revel in thousands of concordances, seek similarities in all the world's religions, conduct learned discourses for enthralled audiences. But they could reach the truth faster if they tied their thoughts to experience. This first paragraph is reminding me of something that I often say: you've got to be book smart and street smart. So book smart, what does that mean? Education, intelligence. But street smart is what it says here: experience, getting out in the world. You can't just sit inside and read and study all day. You've got to go out and put those things into practice. You've got to put it into action. And as it says here, you will find your truth faster if you tie your thoughts to experience. Not to say one is better than the other, but you've got to have both. The intellect is inherently dualistic. It makes distinctions and creates new connections between concepts and calls that meaning. This type of analytical thinking is extremely limited in the face of Tao, which is not fully rational, not fully quantitative, and not fully describable. Though most followers of Tao are learned, they also realize that the intellect is but one aspect in what must be a multifaceted approach to Tao. Again, you can't just be book smart. You've got to be street smart. You've got to have a well-rounded living situation going on. You can't just be solely focused on education and reading and books. You've got to get out there and live, as it says here. It is one aspect in what must be a multifaceted approach. Think about that. There is not only one way to do anything. Having a multifaceted approach to anything and being open-minded enough to understand that is really, really important. So let's continue. It is said one must give up education, not because we should be dumb, but because we must seek a level of consciousness beyond the intellect. We must study, but not to the point that emphasis on experience and meditation is lost. If we can combine the intellect and direct experience with our meditative mind, then there will be no barrier to the wordless perfection of reality. Oh, I love that. And I really love this sentence. I'm going to reread it, and I think that's going to be the one that I pull out today. Do not look, not to point that the emphasis, okay. If we can combine the intellect and direct experience with our meditative mind, there will be no word barrier to the wordless perception of reality. So let's say here, combine intellect and direct experience. You need to be intelligent in an educational, intellectual form, but you also have to have direct experience. Book smart, street smart. Can't be one or the other. You got to have a combination of both. So that's a really great way to think about life in general and today as well. Like if you're perhaps studying something right now, perhaps you're doing a course, you're doing an online course, you're in some sort of a college or university or school and you're learning, think about what that entails, going to the library, taking books, studying, going to lectures, all of those kind of things that are feeding your intellect. But then also have a think about how important it is to go out and put what you're learning into practice. And I can speak from experience, and I say this to a lot of young artists and designers that are sort of asking me about their careers and getting started out. I often say that everything I learned in art school was great because I was in that environment. I was in school, I was learning, I was going to classes, studying with teachers, learning in the classroom. But my first 3 months as, part of the course that I did in Australia, and this was a very, very long time ago, is that we did a work experience for 3 months after we had completed our studies. And I worked in an advertising agency. And I learned more in those 3 months by actually putting everything into practice, putting it into action, being hands-on, all the things that I'd studied and done in the classroom, but putting that in the context of a real working advertising agency. It made my experience, it made my education, it made my skill, everything just skyrocketed. Whereas if I'd only done the intellectual part of it, or I'd just gone into an ad agency with absolutely no skills or training, neither of those things would have worked. But it was that combination of both. You have to have the intelligence of book smarts, but you've also got to have street smarts. You've got to go out into the world and experience things and put what you know into practice. That is the way. And think about that like the yin and yang, right? Book smart, street smart. You've got to balance both of them. You've got to be intelligent, but you've also got to go out and do things. Find that combination, make that nice harmonious blend of both. And whenever you're learning a new skill, think about that. Think about the studies that you're doing. Think about how you're feeding your mind intellectually, but then also think about the importance of actually getting out there and going and doing things and putting everything that you've learned into practice. So that's a great way to start the day. Some great journaling prompts here. I encourage you to pull whatever jumps out at you and whatever resonates with you from today's passage. I wish you a beautiful, beautiful day. I hope the sun is shining wherever you are. Thank you for being here for 84 days of this year so far, and I will check in with you tomorrow.